We need to retire the word retirement. In fact, we need to retire the concept of it. Now, wait a minute, don't freak out. I'm not saying you shouldn't do the traditional retirement thing. Hey, for some people, it's ideal. But you know what? There are a hell of a lot of people. In fact, it's been a growing trend for the last couple of decades of people who just assumed that it was going to be great for them. And then it wasn't. There was a year of the retirement honeymoon, and then it's the retirement nightmare. And why? Because they suddenly realized that traditional retirement for many of us is often lacking some of the most fundamental things that we as human beings need and have needed throughout human history. And that's purpose and relevance and fulfillment and meaning and a self-identity that we want and fits this lifestyle.
Helping you find your new way forward to the best years of your life. This is a New Way Forward podcast with your host, Paul Long.
Yeah, so retirement, that word, just has an automatic construct. I'd say 97% of the people when I've said, what does retirement mean, will essentially say the same thing. You know what I'm talking about. And I'm not saying that that's not fine for some people, but a lot of people were 100% enthusiastically sure that that was right for them. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm failing at retirement. Actually, I'm not failing at retirement, I'm failing at life. My life is miserable. And I'm in decline, and I'm depressed, and I'm drinking too much, and my partner and I are having troubles and all that other kind of stuff. And when you really step back and think about it, it's like, yeah, it's understandable, because what so many people have found, and surveys have identified, is that people are feeling a lack of purpose, a lack of relevance, a lack of fulfillment, that life doesn't have meaning, or they never really created a new self-identity for themselves that was right for them. And that's at the crux of it. That's what this video is about. And I'm going to give you, in the first place, a lot of background that I believe will make a lot of sense to you. That it's what we need as human beings in life. And even realizing, as I'll share with you, that retirement is a modern day concept, but it's also just a general concept. It's not tailored for your life. And what I advocate is that let's take all of that away. Let's forget the word and let's forget the concept, and instead take a blank sheet of paper and put in the time and the effort and gain the awareness and put the attention on what would be a perfect phase of life for me. What would be perfect for this upcoming phase of life, of olderhood as I call it, in order to get rid of that other R word. And I believe that in a lot of cases, watching this video, realizing this, and taking that approach could literally, as well as figuratively, save your life. Okay, so there are two things that we're talking about here. One is retiring the word retirement because of all the baggage that it comes with. And when I say baggage, and by the way, for some people, it's great baggage. It's Louis Vuitton baggage. And for other people, it's a burden because it doesn't work for them. But when we automatically call someone like myself a retiree, just because I'm not doing what I was doing, and I'm an older person, even though now I'm doing this, in which I'm pretty much spending the same amount of time as I was my other business, but I'm enjoying it and being fulfilled by it more, that word doesn't work. It doesn't work, period, because let's look at the synonyms for the word retire. Withdraw, aloneness, detach, remote, retreat, exit, relinquish, surrender, regress, resign, revoke, abandon, terminate, recede, quit, and abandon. Now, you can say, well, okay, I'd like to abandon my current career or job. You can, but maybe what would be better are some of the other RE words, words that start with RE, that I looked up. I came up with 88 relevant ones that were a little more exciting to me. Okay, a hell of a lot more exciting to me. Revitalize, remodel, repurpose, re-energize, reevaluate, reconsider, rediscover, rejuvenate, redesign, renew, reclaim, rebirth, reshape, reward, reawaken, and rename. And so one of the most important things that I did when I was looking at, okay, what am I going to do in this next phase of life, was gain awareness, outward awareness and internal awareness. Internal awareness on what do I really need and want in my life. That if I take moderately good care of myself, the awareness I gained was that so many people were living a lot longer, into their 90s even, still independent, mobile, relevant, purposeful, and healthy. And in fact, having things like purpose and relevance and fulfillment and challenges and gaining the satisfaction from those challenges were one of the reasons that they're healthy. Like literally, directly, physiologically, and mentally, especially cognitively. But also when you're pursuing and you have something like that, you're motivated naturally, and therefore the discipline that comes along with it to eat healthy and exercise and do things like that. Study after study, a growing body of research, valid research, is showing that having purpose and relevance and all those other things, and community and friends, is a positive physiological, mental, cognitive, and of course overall well-being benefit for all of us. Okay, so I'm like, that doesn't sound like traditional retirement necessarily, although it's right for some people. But even then, if we just retire the concept of retirement, what are you going to be left with? Think about that. What are you going to be left with if you're, 57 years old and you're like, okay, I'm approaching retirement age. What am I supposed to do if I'm not supposed to take off the shelf this concept of retirement? Well, you're going to get a blank sheet of paper or a notebook or whatever, and you're going to start figuring out what is it that I want and what do I don't want. What is it I need and what do I not need? And hopefully, for instance, you're going to get past the fact that, oh, I can play a lot of golf, I can travel, I can spend more time with the grandkids. That's what I'll do. Hold on a second. All those things are great. I want them too. But then might you think, well, wait a second, how much can I play golf? How much can I travel? And what's going to happen on the 33rd Groundhog Day that I have when I'm just starting to live and have more trouble getting off the couch, or I'm feeling empty? And that's what so many people find after a year or so of the retirement honeymoon, that they're having the retirement, they feel like they're failing at retirement when it's failing at life, because these things that as human beings that we really need aren't in there. And that's why it's important to understand the history of retirement. It's a modern iteration. It really began broadly, ubiquitously, back in the 50s. Now, in the late 1800s, Otto von Bismarck, the German chancellor, introduced something like Social Security, and then Social Security came along in 1938. But consider that when those were founded, the workforce was largely male, and it gave a lot of people a couple of years before they died because of the lifespan back then, because there was a lot of manual labor, including in the industrial age, toxic environments and such. People weren't living that long. But then along come with the 50s, and you start having pensions, and plus the lifespan started increasing. And it's like, why not have a life like the idle rich? Of course, it's also interesting, all the movies and books and stories we've heard about the idle rich being miserable, bored people because their life has no relevance or any kind of worthwhile challenge or any contrast of hard work and therefore vacation or a round of golf that makes it so pleasure. You take my point. It's a modern day iteration. Well, the fact of the matter is that then along comes the 60s. And when you think about the 1960s, you might think all the social movements, protests, riots, assassinations too. Social change can be quite ugly. But you think of the social movements and maybe sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Well, we got to go deeper than that. What was behind sex, drugs, and rock and roll? that society and technology and economies had changed to the point where the young people around the world, baby boomers, college age, were saying, hey, I'm not going to accept what's on offer. I'm going to determine what I want my life to be like, not what my parents or society, or I'm not going to live the default life. And so that's where you got the alternative lifestyles and, everything that came with it, the music, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And sometimes that wasn't pretty, but that affected society. That changed us, and it changed everything forever. And then you had the social movement. So what was that? That was people's desire to signify, saying, I'm a part of this world, and I'm the future of this world, and I want to make a difference. And so you had the peace movement and the women's rights movement and civil rights and gay and lesbians' rights and the ecology movement. And you also had convention being torn, the walls of convention being torn down. So, and the gatekeepers to money and capital and things of that sort. What that means is Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and Arianna Huffington and Richard Branson. Because back in the 60s, the closest thing to an entrepreneur was a drug dealer, right? And so everything changed. And so it became all the more important to us to signify our lives and to choose the life that we want. Well, the historic irony of all this is that people in their 60s, many, are doing what they did in the 60s, which is to redefine what it means to be of a certain age or in a certain phase of life. And so more and more people like me are not doing the traditional retirement, but we're doing things to keep us relevant and purposeful and with passion and things of that sort. So when you unpack all of this, you see that whenever we just, and so many people just assume that we're supposed to be retiring. I'm supposed to be a retiree. People come up to me and say, how's the retirement going? Well, it makes you think I'm retired. Well, you're not doing what you were doing, being a content creator for all those corporations and stuff. And you're an older guy. What else would you be doing? Well, I'll tell you what the hell else I'll be doing. I've started this other enterprise. I'm doing this, and I've designed my life where it's not just that thing like my last business, especially in the last 10 years, seemed like 24/7, that thing. I've redesigned my life. I've reimagined my life. I stepped back and didn't think of anyone's playbook, like the off-the-shelf retirement playbook. But I've got things that are involved in traditional retirement that I did want in my life, not because they were in traditional retirement, but they were things I wanted. You see my point? That we should look at this time of life as that kind of opportunity for us to design. And I did another video, by the way, about how to design your life using the design, the DESIGN method, to design it into something that's ideal for us because, damn it, we deserve it. You've made it this far. You deserve it. You deserve to design a life that gives you what you need, whether it's the purpose and relevance and fulfillment part of it, or the income part of it, the health part of it, as well as the happiness and the joy and the fun and the relationships and things of that sort. You can have it all. Yes, you can have it all. But you've got to design the life that gives you all of those things that you want. And also take the approach that, I don't just have 10 or even 20 years life. I could have more active life than that if I pursue this and I take relatively good care of myself. That's the option. And by the way, what better time in life to do it than when you're older, when you know more about yourself and about life and about the world in which to make both an informed decision and also have the chance to apply it with all the talent and skills and wisdom that you've developed over the years. What do you think? So I'm going to make a bold prediction that I don't think is really all that bold. This video will be superfluous in 5 to 10 years. And why is that? Because the automatic assumption and presumption of traditional retirement, and that's what I'm supposed to do without even really thinking about it, will be gone, because we're already starting to see that. I can't tell you how many times on like social media posts of mine and others, I see people saying, we got to retire the word retire. We got to help people not just fall into the retirement trap. And with all of that said, keep in mind that there has never been a time in human history when we are more enabled to design our lives and fulfill it. And for a lot of people, and I mean it's almost a majority of people in the United States who don't have enough retirement savings to live a longer, healthier life, there are so many ways to earn an income, and doing it in a way that you love and that you're passionate about and gives you that fulfillment and purpose and meaning that you need. But you also don't have to do it through earning an income or becoming a solopreneur and an entrepreneur or whatever. The whole point of this is that the older we get, the more we know about ourselves and life and the world. It's the best time maybe in the world to make it, here you go, your turn in life. Your turn in life to have the life in all respects, in all aspects, from health to family to self-growth to income to fulfillment that you need and want. It's there for you. You just have to get rid of those RE words of retirement and instead use that blank sheet of paper to design something that is ideal for you, to join those of us who are early adapters and early adopters and join the new wave of the sensible way of designing your life, because it's your turn in life. It's always your turn in life, and you deserve it, and you're entitled to it. So take advantage of it.
Learn more ways to enhance your life and discover a new way forward that's perfect for you by watching these videos or any others on my channel. Oh, and be sure to subscribe.